Well, I've got 2 o'clock, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Stop the share here and get up here to this. I want to welcome everyone today to our event. We're really excited that you could join us. This would typically be something we might do in person on campus, but with COVID-19, we're doing online. But that spirit of what we would do to join with you, we really want to still convey that. And it's really that spirit of telling stories and sharing our stories as we've gone through this transition. Transition to having a student go off to college can already be very stressful. And I know with the added pieces on COVID-19, it's a little even more stressful because all your questions aren't answered. We are going to do our very best today to answer those questions and give you some guidance. The Academic Programs Office does plan to respond electronically back to everybody that's turned in a question. So you will be getting a response back from us. If while you're sitting there and you still want to do a question today, you can go into the survey. You're going to find that just a little bit below, link for that, just a little bit below the video that you're watching now with your webinar. You're actually going to have to go below another link of a great video that the Academic Programs Office did, kind of a little fun video to introduce ourselves to you, but the link is there. If you put that in the chat, they'll be sure that as I get that chat. And I am Susan Sumner, the Academic Associate Dean, and I always tell people I have the best job on campus because I get to work with the families and the students and a fantastic office to do that, and it's really a pleasure to do that. The other thing that's important for us is for you to know that this is a journey. You might be a transfer student, you're going to be with us for a couple of years. You might be a freshman and you're going to be with us 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what you do, but it is a journey. A journey the student's going to have with their advisor, a journey that our office is going to have with you, but we enjoy being a part of that journey. Our office really loves to see the students come in to see us. We encourage them to come see us. Even with everything going on, we're still going to encourage them to come see us. The most unfortunate things can happen to a student and then they have to come see us. So we like to have them come see us before that point, but the office will be open. They will be able to come in to talk to us. But today, I'm really fortunate that I'm joined by some excellent panelists, and I'm going to introduce them by name and let them talk a little bit about themselves. And then we're going to roll right into the questions that you've sent in to us and the questions you might be sending to us. I'm going to start out with Lisa and Joe Rasick. They have a son already at Virginia Tech, and they have a daughter who's going to be an incoming freshman. You guys would introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Dr. Sumner. Yes, I'm Lisa Rasick. I work in the Office of Academic Programs. I'm the Student Development Engagement Coordinator. And like she said, we have 2 Hokies. So we are excited to be able to experience the university in several different ways. I also went to Virginia Tech. I met Joe, my husband, at Virginia Tech. So we both are alum, and we're excited to be in this journey with you, and also just assisting with your students when they get here.
Yeah, and so my name's Joe, and Lisa mentioned a lot. I was the lucky one to meet Lisa right at Virginia Tech, and we've been part of Blacksburg. We moved to LA and came back and love it here. I work in real estate. I'm also a pastor of a church, local church, and yeah, so we just love this area and love having now 2 of our kids going to Virginia Tech.
Thank you very much. So thank you for being a part of the panel today and give your stories to the parents that are listening to us. Now I'd like to have Alan and Brenda Grant, if you'd introduce yourselves, please.
Great, thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you. My name's Alan Grant. I'm Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And my wife Brenda is with me, and we have a son, Andrew, who is I guess he's going to be a junior,
senior.
Senior. And we've been in the area for 10 years. I've worked at Virginia Tech for 10 years. Previous to this, we lived in Indiana. We were at Purdue University for a number of years. And we're fortunate to be able to relocate here, and we've really enjoyed it at Virginia Tech.
Hi, I'm Brenda, and actually he pretty much said everything. I am a stay-at-home mom. I kind of keep the home fires burning and kind of the go-between with helping our son with anything that he needs, and taking care of Alan too.
We appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that since he's my boss. You do a great job. It makes our lives easier when you do that. Thank you so much. Very nice.
I get to coordinate their offices since everybody's home.
That's right.
Thank you. Dawn Thyers is here with us today. Her husband, Brian, might join us in a little bit if we see another figure come into that screen. But Dawn, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Right now, this is Brian. Sure. Thank you, Dr. Sumner. So yes, I'm Dawn Byers. I'm nearly a lifetime resident of Blacksburg. I've spent 3 years at Purdue for my master's, but otherwise I've been here. I two-time also graduate of Virginia Tech, did my bachelor's and my PhD here. And my husband, Brian Yon, is he did his bachelor's and also his master's in food science and technology under Dr. Sumner. Here as well, we have a daughter who is a sophomore in biochemistry. And then we also have a daughter that is a rising junior, and she's interested in aerospace engineering. So there's the hope that we will have another future Hokie in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you. Dr. Kurt Stevenson's joining us today as our last panelist too.
Hello, everyone. My name's Kurt with the Department of Agricultural and Applied Economics. I've been here 25 years. I also got my master's degree in the Department of Ag and Applied Economics at Virginia Tech. And I have a son who's a rising junior in wildlife conservation, and he's also a transfer student.
Very good. Well, as you can see, we've got some great stories they're going to keep telling us, and it's great to have wonderful friends like this that you can send them an email and they're more than happy to come and participate on your panel. But I know you're going to enjoy hearing about their experiences and see how that'll help you with your experience for your son or daughter that are going to be joining us. I'm going to ask everybody on the panel first to kind of address one question to set the tone for us. But Kurt, I'll let you start. Can you talk about and share your expectations for this fall 20 semester for your son?
Well, our expectations are to be adaptable, to be flexible, because this is all new for us as well as it's for you, and so yeah, you're just going to have to roll with the punches, and you've got a lot of great support here at Virginia Tech. There's a great community here, advisors and faculty, as well as students who to help you through the semester. So take advantage of those resources.
Kurt, thank you for mentioning that word advisor. We'll probably come back to that a couple times as we get questions and answers to do that. John, what are you hoping for your daughter this fall semester?
Sure. I would say as a parent, and also for my daughter, just to be open to new experiences. I mean, I think it's a very fluid situation. This is, none of us have ever been in this situation. So just to be open and fluid and understanding about new experiences. And I think as parents, we set the tone for what we're looking for them and what they can experience. I think as Kurt said, she's now a sophomore, and so we've had 1 year under a belt. So, and she will be back on campus. So this will be also a new experience of being back on campus and understanding what that experience will be like for her. But I think she's really excited just to be back. She's excited to see her friends, clearly, especially after going to spring break and then not being able to see them. So we're excited. She's been living in our basement, so we're excited to have a basement back as well. But I think just to be open and set the tone for them. This is my husband, Brian.
Brian, glad you could join us. Thank you. All right. Alan and Brenda, what do you think the fall might bring for Andrew?
Well, I think, my first concern is, of course, health and safety. So I'm really pleased to see all of the planning going into all of the work going into public health and safety of people, the students and the faculty and the staff, and because I want Andrew to be safe, and And I want him to have access to services on campus, just like a normal semester, recognizing that, yeah, there's going to have to be some flexibility and resilience, and a lot's going to have to be done virtually with some of the services. But yeah, I want them to be safe first and foremost.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Safety is number one. I feel kind of good about the fact that he feels optimistic going into this, that whether his classes are online or on campus, I mean, he's kind of excited for it. He's at the level where, he's really enjoying all of his classes because he's, got the major down and has figured that out. So I think because he had a successful last semester online, he knows he can do it. So he's ready. So I think that's good.
Excellent, excellent. And that's a great lead in. Maybe Lisa and Joe, you have a son that's returning. He already had that 1 year here. Now you've got a daughter coming in. Different feelings either way for your children?
Slightly different, yes. But that's because I had to learn to treat them differently and not, expect that what worked for one would work for the other. I think, all of us learn that pretty quickly as we have children, but sometimes, we forget that they're different people and they have different personalities. Thinking about advice as they're coming in, really just let them lead the way, let them make their choices. Because I want to say, well, we just did this last year and this is how it worked. It might not work that way this second time around, or even if we didn't have two, right back to back like that, I would be tempted to say, well, when I was in college, we did it this way. But it really is letting go of some of those expectations, some of those experiences, and letting them lead the way and kind of follow them through their excitement. We all have some of our disappointments and these expectations that we're talking about, and having to let go of some of those expectations, but catching on and following their excitement, I think really has helped us to kind of frame this in a little bit better experience for us.
Yeah, and I'm very pleased with how Virginia Tech's handling the health and safety, and so I don't have any concerns there, or educationally it's great. I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to most is actually just the new friendships that our daughter will be forming in her first year. Both Lisa and I did really well when we went to Virginia Tech in forming lifelong friendships. Dawson, our oldest, going into sophomore year, has some great friendships. And so that's probably what, to be honest, like my expectation and kind of what I look forward to most is there's a great spirit. There's a lot of energy in Virginia Tech, and I look forward to Katie, our daughter, kind of experiencing that on her own for the first time, even though we live in the same town. So.
Fantastic, great. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think you've touched on a lot of things that are questions families are a little bit nervous about to do that. But to mix up the questions a little bit, maybe you guys continue with this one. Do students really need a car on campus? What about parking and parking tickets?
Well, everyone that has ever been to Blacksburg, lives in Blacksburg, knows about Blacksburg, has a parking services or a parking ticket story. So just get ready for one of those. But I think in our experiences, they really don't need a car their freshman year. There's lots of ways to get around, and it's real easy. I mean, it's nice for them to have some freedom on the weekends. So if they do have access to a car, that's helpful. But I feel like there's always somebody on the hall that has one. And so even if your student doesn't, there's somebody that does. So it's not a pressing need in our experience. But read all the signs and follow all the rules when it comes to parking.
And the Blacksburg Transit's a great system. They do have a two-town trolley system that might require some changeovers, but it will take you to Walmart or Target. Most of the areas in Blacksburg, get downtown, it's walkable. So yes, I don't feel like while you're on campus that you need a car.
Anybody else have a great parking service story they want to talk about?
I don't really want to share one.
You want to share yours?
None that we want to share.
I think one of the most expensive tickets is $150, and we've got one of those in my family. I don't know if they get any higher than that, but that's the highest I've seen for that, to do that. A couple of questions that came in previously and also in today. If you could share a little bit about your experience that you've heard your children talk about their interaction with their advisors. So Alan, Brenda, has Andrew shared any experience with his advisors?
Well, his experiences have all been positive. He started out in biology and first semester decided that that wasn't for him, and was a little bit worried about how he was going to navigate that. He talked to his advisor, who gave him great advice, said, you need to go where you're happy. And for that, it was history for him. And so they set him up with an advisor in the history department. And it was an easy transition. He went and talked to them. They helped him get his classes arranged for the following semester. And then in December, I think it was, when they can switch, because I don't think they can do it till the end of the semester. He simply switched and went into the new major and had a new advisor that was great, and getting him his classes from then on out. So his experience has been positive, and he's been able to navigate and get a hold of them whenever he needed to. With questions, they've always been responsive. They've always had good answers, and they seem to, which I find very confusing, but they're able to go through all these requirements in classes and find, what they're missing, what they need, fill all the requirements. And, I look at those and I think it's complicated, but they seem to be able to look at all of these different students and figure that out for them. So I think that's quite amazing. I'm impressed.
It's nice to hear that you said the response time was pretty good. I mean, I think sometimes, get bogged down in doing emails. I did hear the other day that we're going to put in an add-on system with how students run their graduation analysis. It's really going to be even easier for them to see how they're progressing toward graduation and all their course requirements. So I can't wait to see that as an advisor, but also I think as a student, that'll be kind of fun to do. John, I'm going to switch the question a little bit for you. A lot of times when you're in high school, you get to have access toward and look at your students' grades or that portal that they have. You don't have that portal anymore when they come to college. Something you used in high school, what was that shift like, not to be able to see that portal anymore?
I think just you have to trust that they're doing what they need to do in order to succeed in college, and that they're going to seek out opportunities if they do need help, if they need extra assistance, or if maybe they've had some difficulty on a test. I didn't feel that was just in terms of looking at agency for her and independence, that I didn't feel the need to check in back behind her with her grades. With being part of the honors college, she was a little stressed out about there's expectation that you'd have a 3.6 your first year in order to stay in the honors college. And so she had that in the back of her mind of what she needed to do. And that was a little stressful, but she managed everything that she needed to manage, even with being online. So I didn't see it as a problem. And just going back to what you were saying about advising, I think we had Amy Razor, she has Amy Razor in biochemistry, who, if she has not had an advising award, I would recommend, she needs an award for advising, because fabulous advisor, got her in terms of answered her questions if she ever had concerns about what classes she should take and when, and especially how they would fit in her course of study, or what she would need to do in order to keep her grades, that she answered the questions. Brent also added 2 minors in this course of the year, so she was fabulous with that too. So I mean, I think it was a great, I think that transition, that learning experience of her having this independence and doing it on her own and seeking the help when she needed it, she did that. She did what she needed to do to feel like she had success in this year.
Joe, would you describe your experience similar?
Yes, I think it's always tempting to try to learn more about how my son is doing at Virginia Tech. And, there's times where I kind of wish that, I could go check in on things, but I do see, like, I think for me, like, it's important to, like, especially with a son or, probably a daughter too, is just for their maturity and their responsibility and them to kind of take that kind of more as their own responsibility. So yeah, it's tempting, like, and I kind of wonder, it's like, is the money being used wisely here, like with this education? But I found it to be kind of a good growing experience for my son and hopefully daughter too.
Kurt, your son came in as a transfer student, so similar type experience or a little bit different as a transfer student maybe?
Well, he came in as a transfer student from a small liberal arts school, and so they had, highly individualized attention, and so that was one of the things that he was most surprised about when he came here to Tech, is that, in his department, it was the same type of individualized attention, and so he had somebody there willing to, if he had a question, to help him out immediately, and so he's had a great experience. And he has right now he has this really nice internship working with the Forest Service and Trout Unlimited, and he really likes his summer job, and so he's thinking, well, I can maybe take a gap semester and I could build up some more experience with what the type of work he's doing. And so he just called up his advisor and said, look, I'm thinking about taking a gap year this fall. I'm in the middle of a national forest. There's nobody to be around. It's like a great opportunity to learn about stream restoration. She said, no problem. And they just worked it out. And he said, he's going to go in 4.5 years instead of 4 years. I think it's just immediate, and, they'll help you find a way to do what you want to do.
Fantastic. You mentioned the word internship, and I know we've had some questions come in about internships, and I would say that a good many of the majors in our college, as well as across the university, require students to do either an internship or maybe undergraduate research. And I think that those are still going. We have students who are doing internship programs this summer. We anticipate working with our career professional services department that they'll be able to continue to do internships. And I think the biggest caveat we have there, Alan mentioned it early on, the safety. And so when they're going into that internship place, we're asking them to provide the safety for the students. So we have had some students that haven't been able to get their internship this summer because the facility couldn't give them the assurances that they needed to do with that. I only bring that up because some of them are graduating this December and they have a requirement to have this internship. So what happens to you as a student with that? We don't delay your graduation or anything like that. You probably end up taking a different course to learn some of those skill sets to go along and do that. But we are still really good success with the students still getting to do internships. So that's really good to see. They're still getting an opportunity. John, do you envision that your daughter being in biochemistry? They tend to do a lot of undergrad research. Is she looking at doing undergrad research?
She actually did. As the first part of the spring semester, she was able to talk with several people, and they were great about letting her do the opportunity. She did some undergraduate research until March. She was working in a lab, and she was working with white nose disease in bats. So unfortunately, that was one of the ones that was shut down. So after this, in the spring semester, that was shut down. But the plan was that she was going to be able to continue that, and especially with her being here in the summer. So that is the hope, that she'll be able to continue that. But there's been a lot of opportunities. She had other ones that she could have probably done some undergraduate research opportunities with. So I think that's a great thing, is that if you have the will, there's definitely a way.
Very good. Alan and Brenda, if I'm correct, I think Andrew was hoping to do a study abroad maybe this summer. He was going to do something, and that obviously got canceled. Can you talk a little bit about that global piece? And then I'll let Brian, you guys come back to, because Bree was trying to do some of that too. But how's that working right now, that global piece?
Well, So yeah, he was very interested in going to England. He was looking at Europe and England for study abroad. So he worked with the instructor of the program that would have gone in summer one to England, and I think for 3 weeks. And
It's a short one.
and obviously that didn't happen because of COVID-19. So he of course he got informed by the instructor that it wasn't going to happen, and everything's worked out okay. He's disappointed that he wasn't able to go, but he's hopeful that there'll be an opportunity next year, perhaps to do something, because he really does want that international experience. He thinks that would really add to his coursework. So give him that global experience that he really would like to have. So he learns all about European history, and he'd like to get over there and see some of it.
And Brian, I think you were telling me when I bumped into you, and I was told them the story of how I bumped into you and you agreed to be on my panel on July 3rd. Your daughter was looking at doing the study abroad semester in the spring, I think you were telling me.
She's in the honors program and study abroad semester in Europe. And that program is still on, but based on uncertainty, we've kind of elected, or she's elected to kind of postpone that for a year to make sure that she can still work that into her plan of study, because it was a very big part of why she wanted to come to Virginia Tech, was to be able to experience international relations and understand how things work outside of Virginia Tech, outside of Virginia, and just get a better global understanding of problems and how she can address them.
And I think that global piece is something a lot of the students are looking forward to and to doing. Right now, since the trips can't go, they're really working with faculty to see what type of experiences they can bring into the classroom. We still do have quite a few international faculty members and students on campus. They're trying to utilize that a little bit more so we can get back. But the goal would be that those trips would continue. We have a lot of faculty-led ones out of our college that we want to see those continue. I do know sometimes cost is kind of an issue sometimes. With her going for a semester program, though, that is just a regular semester tuition. So those are a little bit different than the shorter trips. But there are opportunities to seek scholarships, so we encourage the students to do that as well. We got a really good question. I hope all of you want to answer. Somebody can just jump in first. But if your student became or becomes homesick, should you encourage them to stay in Blacksburg? Encourage them to come home for the weekend? What do you do with that homesickness? Now, some of you, you're really close by, so maybe not as good, but how do you deal with that? Who would like to go first? Brenda, how did you deal with it? Did Andrew ever get homesick, even though you weren't that far away?
I think we failed.
You can come home.
I think we've done a little bit of both. I mean, we've let him come home sometimes, and sometimes we just said, you need to stay there and, meet people and get involved and be on campus. And so he's done a little both. But I think, you have to read your student and figure out if you can push them to, plow through it, or if they really need to come home and re-energize. I don't know. We may not have done it right.
Well, I would agree with this. I think homesickness truly is a sickness. They are experiencing some very deep emotions and different things. So I think that's first to acknowledge that's going on. Yeah. Lisa, you said you encouraged them to come home. Is that what you did? But you always like having everybody in your house. So that's not a fair question for you.
Well, yeah, we always have them bring everyone to us. But, just thinking about that, one thing that we've done is just help remind them that no matter what it is they're going through, if it's homesickness or just trouble making friends or whatever, it's not like they're the only ones that's happening to. Everyone feels kind of lonely sometimes. Everyone feels like, I don't understand how campus works. I don't, I have all these questions, but they think they're the only ones and they don't necessarily want to ask. And so I just try to remind them you know, everybody feels this way, no matter how you address it or try to fix it. Well, you should let them try to fix it, but no matter how you kind of address it, I just try to remind them that, you know, you're not the only one. You're in this with a lot of other people. Reach out and connect over that.
And I think for a lot of the kids, they're probably surprised about the homesickness because this is something they've been looking forward to, and they're very excited about this opportunity. And so it's, as much as she pushed us out the door when we were moving in the dorm, Bryn has a lot of anxiety. She told me I could say that. But the first 2 weeks, she was calling us daily and was very, she was anxious. And it was, you know, about the transition, about meeting people, about connecting. And I think she was surprised about how homesick she was, even with growing up in Blacksburg. And even though it was not that far, but it was just more that transition piece of it. So we just did different things, worked with her on different things. And she got through it. I think she said one time, I had mentioned, okay, well, you can just, if you need to come home, you can come home. If we need to take a gap year, you can. And then she said, that switched it for her. She said, that's not going to happen. So that
I will be that student that does that. That's not going to be me. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that.
Sometimes you might have the opposite experience. And I've noticed this with other friends and families, that your student won't call you for the first 2 or 4 You're like wondering if they're okay, if they're alive, you know, so you might have the opposite experience too. And that's pretty good also.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is there's a big expectation as soon as they get on campus that they're going to start making all these really close connections very early on. And it's something that takes time. So it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes some time for them to kind of build these relationships with different groups, and they're going to come across different groups through all their interactions on campus, you know, walking across campus, meeting people, similar people in classes, and then all those extracurricular activities that you run into doing. So it takes time to build, and a lot of people think that immediately they're going to make those connections, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer than they expect.
You mentioned move-in day. Alan, do you have any stories to tell about move-in day? How did move-in day go?
You know, it went okay. You know, I thought it was going to be one of these, okay, I'll take an hour off from work and we'll get this stuff in the room and set up and I'll be out of there. Well, I think, yeah, just you have to have some patience. You know, one of the things we ran into, West AJ has 2 elevators. And so if you time it so that everybody's trying to move in, you just have to have some patience, and everybody's got their cart. You know, what's really nice is the hokey helpers, because they are running around with carts, or they're giving their hands, they're helping. And I was really impressed with, you know, we weren't there very long at all. We pulled into the parking lot, and the hokey helpers were there with carts, you know, what can we do to help you? And, so, you know, it goes well, just, yeah, plan on spending a good chunk of time, because, and enjoy it. I mean, it's kind of cool.
It's never cool temperature.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Not literally.
But it's always fun. I always like going down Washington Street to watch the cars and watch the people. I always say you tend to see the families that are at Disney World that have a meltdown, but you don't want to be that family that everyone's staring at. Just let somebody be in charge of move-in day, and then usually it goes pretty well, and you don't have to worry about that. Kurt, you probably didn't have to move Ty in. Did he live off campus as a transfer student?
Yes, he lived off campus.
Did you have any apprehensions when he wanted to go from a small school to come to Virginia? He probably didn't want to come to Virginia Tech originally because there's a big school. Were you concerned about that when he changed his mind?
I mean, we encouraged him to, and my daughter to look elsewhere, because we speak, going back to the homesickness thing. We wanted, I mean, and they both said they wanted to get out of town and to live away from Blacksburg, because, you know, it is a wonderful place and it's easy to get comfortable here. So when he went away, you know, it was hard for his first semester, and but I think, and it's okay to acknowledge it's going to be hard for some students, and I think it's, you know, it's it's uncomfortable, but I think it's a growing experience. And so he didn't come home very often, but it took him a while to find, like Brian had an excellent point. It took him a while to find his peeps, if you will, and to find and he tried a lot of things his first semester of his freshman year, and he finally settled in the second semester. But second semester was great. It's the first year, but the first one was hard. My daughter, I never heard from. She was gone the first day. I never heard from her until like Thanksgiving. It was all, it was game on, right? So I had both experiences.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we had a couple of questions that came in before a day or two ago. We have some more that have come in now asking about, as a college, we always really think highly, and I think we should, of our hands-on experiences that the students are going to be a part of. And if their classes are going to be online, what's going to happen there? And I can give my comments as an academic associate dean, but what are your children talking about that now they got some labs you're going to have? What are they saying? What do they think their labs are going to be like?
The labs in particular, or all classes? I'm sorry.
Just labs or any classes in particular. It doesn't really matter. I mean, what are they thinking now that they're seeing their schedule and the modality is going to be either hybrid or online, or it's going to be face-to-face? What's she saying?
I think she's excited to be back. So that's the main part. She's excited to be back in the learning environment. So for her, I mean, I think she's okay with the hybrid. It's now just that trying to figure out where to study, or how to meet up with groups and how to have that student engagement and faculty engagement. And there were a lot of opportunities last spring, even with it going to online, that there was still, I think she felt that she still was able to have contact with teachers. She was still able to have contact with other students. So, I mean, having that, and even though everybody was thrown into it, and it was a little bit of a surprise that it worked. And I know I've heard some other people say that too, that, they've already had that experience of knowing it can be done. So, and there's still opportunities to see other people. I think she's just happy to be back.
Yeah. And I would say from this summer, we've got several faculty working groups. We have one in the college, there's one university-wide, looking particularly at labs and how do we do our hands-on laboratories. So there is a real desire that you are going to still have that hands-on experience. I know horticulture is putting a lot of things in place that the students are still going to be able to be in the greenhouse. They'll still be able to come over and maybe pick up a box kit of something to go and work with and see the plants and everything grow. And some of the general science labs are talking about mailing kits to the students. So they'll be doing experiments in their rooms and different things like that. So I do know we're putting a lot of effort into it, and there's a lot of good pedagogy out there on how to do different labs online. So our expectations are high of our faculty, I think, on what we're hoping they're going to pull off, but they're working really hard this summer to really put that together. Alan, there's kind of a general question. You alluded to it a little bit on, can you explain a little bit at your level, because you're highest level kind of listening to conversation, what was the university doing in response to COVID, whether it's for employees on campus or for the students when they come back?
Yeah, so there's a lot, and it just seems like at times it's just overwhelming to try to keep track of everything that's being planned and arranged and coordinated. But for employees, we're looking at kind of a hybrid work situation for some of the employees. We have discovered that telework actually works pretty well in a lot of cases. And then in other cases, of course, you need people in the labs and in the offices. So the university is working with units on developing those procedures. How do you the resources to help supervisors and managers decide whether or not it's a good idea. Can it work? Can telework be an option? Is it a hybrid, or do they need to be here on campus physically? So a lot of effort going into that, and just tracking where people are, so that if there is an outbreak, we can quickly determine who's been exposed, so that we can track those folks down and take care before it spreads further. So lots of health and safety aspects. Lots of discussion about flow of people in and out of buildings, where people can congregate. They shouldn't be congregating, but what kind of signage and things that we can use to maintain that physical distance. There was an article in this morning's VT Daily Email News about the work going into arranging desks and tables in classrooms, and making sure that so when students go in, they know where they need to sit. They don't have to make that decision. There's signage. There's markings on the floor where those tables have to be. So if they're moved around for cleaning in between classes, they can be moved back quickly. So, lots of classroom preparation. We've talked about moving students. We have students that go to the farms and off campus, the greenhouses and so forth. So, transporting students, those procedures all around, how many students in a vehicle, if it's a 12-passenger van, what is the seating arrangement in that van to minimize spread of potential COVID-19. So on the students, making sure that they have face masks, and those that can't wear a face mask for some reason have other options, and lots of resources going into helping faculty transition, and that's changing every day. So we're trying to get the word out to the faculty and the instructors, the resources that are available, so that if you need some one-on-one consultation, or if you need some workshops on some different teaching styles and approaches, that they have those. So all sorts of things. Susan's, you've led some discussions in groups on dealing with labs under different circumstances. So it's actually amazing, everything that's going on, a lot of it behind the scenes. And the real challenge is it's changing so much. There's so much information out there. How do we get this information out, packaged in a way that people can access it quickly and easily, and they can find what they need? The other thing I heard yesterday in a meeting is that we've been providing a lot of information out to the faculty and the staff. What we've provided to the students still needs to be packaged, better packaged, and provided to the students, so that they kind of have a one place they can go to on the website and easily find information. And that should be coming out soon. But I think that'll be very, very, very helpful.
And they're pretty almost Monday at 6 p.m. Continuing students and incoming students will also get the same note about the opportunity to really look at their schedules. That was the date we gave faculty to decide the modality of how they were going to teach their course. Would they want to be face-to-face, hybrid, all online? Is it online, synchronous, you have to be there a certain time? Is it online, asynchronous, meaning you can do it whenever? So I would encourage you and your students to look at that schedule. It's now got a new added column. Before, it would give them the room number and the date and the way it's graded and all of that and the time. Now it's got a column that says modality. And if there's a time and location with it, then that means at some point they will be in the room at that time. That means the faculty member might be taking their class and they want to have some face-to-face time with you. So you might be A group and somebody else are B or C, and you go in on different days of the week. So that's going to be the clue on the schedule to look at. Is it truly all online? Is there some face-to-face on the modality to look at that? And there's been some questions from families that all online disappointed about that. So again, we're trying to work with advisors to find other courses to put in with that. We also have some students that want everything online. And so they would rather not have that hybrid. So I guess my hope would be we can match those up as somebody comes out of a class that's a hybrid, that somebody could go in one that they want, if they want to go online. That would be the real trick to do that. But we are trying to match that up. And those are very good questions to ask your advisor when your student has their advising appointment, to ask about that and to look at that. But since their courses they take are taught all across campus, Alan and I really only control the courses in our college as far as how we've tried to manage, whether they're face-to-face or whether they're hybrid. We've asked the departments to really look at that and kind of make that a mix, but they're taking classes across the university. And sometimes that mix of courses might be one way or the other, but that's always something we want to look at with students and fit your way you're trying to look at your courses to kind of do that. And to follow up with that, the website is www.vt.edu/ready is where they're trying to start putting some more information for the students. I did hear today that faculty are going to get kind of a little goodie bag for teaching with some sanitizer and different things they're going to get to take to class. And they're working on the same type of thing for students too. So I think they're kind of still working on some of that with the students to pull that all together. When you think about what you worried about that first year before they went off, Lisa or Joe, is there something you really worried about that just never happened and you wished you'd never spent your time worrying about it?
There's like 100 million things I worried about. Let's just be honest. No, you know, our son had a very successful first year. I think I worried, I will be honest, I think I worried that he's never going to need me again. And just to be honest, well, isn't that the goal, for them not to need us, you know? So in some ways that's not a realistic thing to think about, but in others, it was reassuring that as he adjusted and made his way, of course he does still need us. Our role changes. And so since he was our first child to go through college, it was like we were learning too about how we're growing and how our role changes in his life. So I also worried that he would fail a class. He didn't fail a class. He tried, but no, he did very well. So.
Yeah, I usually let Lisa do the worrying. It works better.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah, I think like there's a few times where, you know, I feel like our son would make certain decisions and I'd be like, I try to kind of like help him see like he doesn't need to make hard, fast decisions about everything right now. And what was encouraging to me is like, you know, a month later he's changed his mind. And so I think like it was helpful to see. I think I was concerned at one point, like, hey, don't lock yourself into something right now till you kind of learn more and experience more. And so that was helpful to see that kind of happened by itself over the year.
John or Brian, do you have one, or it could be two tips that you would give the parents out there, the son or daughter coming for the first time, just as your best tip, what you learned over the last year?
I think I would say just be open to, and we've talked about this, I think several of the panelists have talked about this, that some of the expectations you have are just, they're not going to happen. Or just to be open to new experiences, because this is a learning process for both parents and students. I think like Lisa said, just, you know, you're wondering how the relationship will change when they enter college and what that will look like. With our daughter, again, she has a lot of anxiety. And so I was wondering how that would be for her going into this situation that was so new, even with the familiarity of the campus, but a little bit of familiarity with the campus, but just an environment that's so new. But you know, that they a lot of times they're given the opportunity to thrive. They really do. They seek their own opportunities. They seek their own, they look for new friendships. One of the nice things with tech is there's so many different opportunities with, whether it's through recreational sports or clubs, other types of opportunities to be able to find those connections. So I think just be open to there's going to be change. And
Well,
that's a good thing.
I like to say that Virginia Tech has one of the longest winter breaks of many schools. It's almost 5 weeks. And I always like to remind families that when they've been away for a semester, 5 weeks is a long time for people to get readjusted to everything, that you're ready to go back, just go back already in January. But it's a really long break. You need to be mentally ready for that as well on doing that. Alan, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question. I don't know it. We've had a couple questions on our equitation classes. Are those going to go on in the fall semester, or do we know yet?
I have not heard whether they are going to take place or not. That's a very good question.
I hadn't either, so we'll have to get back to you. Several of you asked that question. We'll have to be sure and get a good response for you on that. I haven't really heard anything with that. We were talking about it the other day, so I know they're making some plans with it to do that, but that is a big part of that program, and why students come and want to be a part of that program. So we'd like to kind of see those continue.
I know they still plan to have students involved with the outlying livestock and equine facilities. So I just don't know about the specific classes.
Because they will be able to work on campus. We have a lot of student workers on campus. And again, in the different situations, we are following our COVID guidelines on how many people can be in a particular situation, but there will still be opportunity for students to have jobs on campus. As we kind of think about, we kind of round down some of our questions. Lisa, could you talk a little bit about your role in the college and some of the programs you're planning for the students this fall?
Sure. Yeah, I am really excited about some things that we've got planning and that we're thinking about, mostly because it's something that I'm excited about, but also because it directly affects my own daughter. So I just want to reassure all the parents out there, I've got a major stake in doing a good job this fall with things. But we are planning and thinking through some different programs. One would be just helping to facilitate some small groups with students. If a lot of their classes are online, we know that they're going to want to connect more with others in person and in other ways. A lot of this will be done through their RAs and their kind of groups that they're already kind of living with, and some of the initiatives with student affairs, but we really want to help them make some connections within the college. And so we're looking at developing some small groups. I think we might call them the Hokie High Five groups, looking at some different study sessions, have some snacks. Of course, everything is with, health guidelines in place. Don't worry about anything like that. Like Dr. Sumner said, our office is going to be open, and we're looking at having just an open time once or twice a week where students can come by, have a cup of coffee, say hello. We can chat with them and see how things are going. I know that as a parent, what I've been hearing from other parents too is just that question of accessibility. My student has all these classes online. Can they still have access to their instructor if they need it? And they still have access to their advisor? How so? And that will be up to each advisor and faculty person, but I do want to reassure you that they will be available to your students in our office as well. Like Dr. Sumner said, will be open. It might not be open all day, every day, or certain staff members might not be there, but we'll make that clear. And there might be hopefully sometime during the week that we know is just kind of an open time for your students to come by. And just really looking to partner too with other campus entities. I mean, this is what I get up in the morning thinking about, helping our students engage and make meaningful relationships and how they can thrive while they're here at Virginia Tech. But I certainly am not the only one. I love seeing what Hokie Wellness, Rec Sports, VT Engage, Housing and Res Life, of course, they're training their RAs to be really helping with these relationships and helping students connect in this time of so much virtual learning, and helping them create those meaningful relationships. So we're going to even work harder to partner with what everyone else is doing too. But we are really excited and looking forward to having your students come and planning some good things. Really right now is also a time of listening as well, which is why I'm really happy we were able to have this session today and you're able to submit your questions. I'm in touch with all of the advisors in the college, and they're letting me know what they're hearing in their advising appointments from your students. So if they're hearing a common theme of what students want and what they need, they're passing that information along so we can create things that have a direct impact on your student success this fall.
Fantastic summary of what you're doing. And as I said when I started, although the dean might argue he has the best job on campus, I really have the best job. I mean, Lisa in the office and what she's planning for the students. And Dawn, you mentioned Amy Razor as advisor. It's just wonderful to work with such top-notch faculty and advisors in our college that really are looking for the students to thrive. And I think that word thrive, Alan, might be a nice segue into where the college is kind of headed and kind of our little mission mantra right now. If you could talk just a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I think, the college is positioned really well. We've been able to continue to be a very comprehensive College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And what that really means is that we can meet the needs of the diverse needs of the students, everything from biochemistry down to ag econ, and Kurt's shop, entomology, food science and technology, human nutrition, real broad and not unlike a lot of other land-grant universities that have colleges of agriculture and life sciences, but we've been able to really maintain that comprehensiveness, which I think is so important when it comes to the teaching and learning environment in the college. We've been fortunate to hire a lot of new faculty and instructors in the recent years. We've grown as a college and we've really needed to do that. So we've done that in a number of departments. And what we're finding are these new faculty and instructors are so excited about teaching. They want to work with students and they want to work with students in different ways, and not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom as well. And a lot of the faculty that we hire, they don't just teach, but they do other things. They do research, they do extension education programs. And we think that that's going to continue to really foster that experience, that student experience, because students can, I heard Don talking about the undergraduate research. A student can be exposed to a faculty member who's teaching a class, but also has a research program. So the student can engage with the research, learn about the innovative things taking place in the research lab and how that research is being translated to the real world. And some of them can actually conduct research as an undergraduate student. So lots of opportunities through that. The other thing is, being a land-grant university, we are really connected to communities and the industries around Virginia and actually well beyond the state lines, globally in many cases. And again, by having these connections around the world, because we're a land-grant university, we're able to provide opportunities to the students. And better prepare them for issues and challenges that they'll be dealing with after they move on from Virginia Tech. We've been focusing a lot on developing these emphasis areas that we really need to make sure that we continue to focus on in the future, that are going to be important, whether it's for the students or research programs. For example, food, this whole area of food systems, health sciences, environmental sciences, and the economy. And the whole idea here is that these are areas that will continue to be important, and they will continue to have big challenges. And we need leaders in those areas to help us deal with some of these issues in food systems and environmental sciences and so forth. And the whole idea here is that if you have healthy food systems, you'll have healthy people. If you have healthy environments and you have the healthy economy, then that all leads to thriving communities. So we're kind of looking at our overall goal is doing things to help communities thrive. And by focusing on these areas, there's tremendous opportunity for our students to get engaged and to learn about these issues and these challenges. And while they're here as a student, And many of these students will actually be able to be helping to solve some of these problems. And what better way to prepare them for the future than to immerse them in some of these issues while they're here as students. So I think, you know, the college is positioned really well to work in those areas. And I think it provides great opportunities for the students. And so I think the future is really bright, Susan, for the College of Ag and Life Sciences.
And I would agree that I think your students have chosen, some of them might change their major later out of the college, but we are really excited that they're going to be joining us this fall. Does anyone on the panel have anything that you had jotted down from the questions I told you I might ask that you really want to be sure that you get to say today? Anybody have anything? Kurt, do you have anything else you want to add as a professor? I know you're not going to be teaching this fall.
No, I won't be teaching this fall, but you know, my advice is, and from what I've learned is that, you know, when they go off, listen, but don't try to solve all their problems. When they call up and they're just wanting to, you know, vent, let them vent. But, you know, they really, at least in my experience, they probably don't need, or they probably don't want you're trying to solve the problems for them. But it's an exciting time, and, you know, you're going to have your ups and downs. You know, roll with the punches. It's going to be a great ride.
What great advice. It's a great way to end. I appreciate you with those comments. That's beautiful to end that way. I really would like to thank all of my panelists today for your willingness to accept my invitation and to share your stories with our families. We've done our very best to answer the questions that you've sent in to us. As I did mention at the start, the staff of academic programs will be going back through all of the questions and getting back to you just to make sure we clarify and you have anything. I am going to share a slide here, I think, to give you a little bit more contact information for our office. You can follow us on the social media sites. Lisa manages those, but some of you still might have questions or anxiety or concerns. If you've not done advising, encourage your student to talk about it at their advising session. If you've done that and you've looked at the website and you still have questions, keep using the survey to ask us questions, or you can email us at this address as well too, because we want you to have the answers that you need to your questions. But thank you for joining us today, and I appreciate you spending the time with us. And again, thank you to my panelists for being a part of the day. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.